welcome to Chuck's Guitar Geekery. Today I'm going to do a quick comparison, just kind of going over the pros and cons of having a souped up Strat style guitar or a Les Paul. I figured if I'm going to do a Les Paul comparison, I might as well use the actual Les Paul. This is my 2019 standard that really doesn't come out of the case often enough. I need to find excuses to play it more often. But for the Strat style, this is an old PV Predator, but it's got Seymour Duncan humbuckers in it. Yes, it also has that single coil in the middle, but I'm going to ignore the middle for this comparison just to have it more apples to apples with the dual humbucker Les Paul. So let's go through the sound test. I think it's just the best way to start. I'm actually using the Katana here. So yeah, I'm using an expensive guitar through a cheap amp. But I'm actually running the Katana through impulse responses via a load box. I did a video on that a couple weeks ago, so you can check that out to see how I did that. So it's not the internal Boss speaker, and it's not the headphone out, but it's going through impulse responses. So I'm using it like a head pretty much. I'll have a clean and use a crunch tone setting. So let's just go through the sound test now. So I did a quick listen through the sounds, you know, both as I was playing it and then I did a quick playback before doing this talking part. So tone-wise, they should sound different. I mean, all those subtle differences, if you just look at the way a Strat, the pickups are situated versus the Les Paul. And again, these are all very, like, incremental, very small changes between the two, but the scale length is different, so the strings are longer on the Strat style than the Les Paul. The relation of the spacing of the pickups to the bridge is also different. And Strats also have the fancy, the bridge is slanted like that, so that's all. It's not going to make a giant difference, but it's subtle differences. It's also bolt-on versus set neck, different finishes on them, different types of wood, which each of those changes on their own really, it's very minuscule amounts of differences between the two, but add it all together and playing experience, they do play differently. The Les Paul is actually easier to bend, I find. With the shorter scale length, the notes come a little more slinky. And I also believe Les Pauls were plecked, which means the frets really are like about as good as they get coming out of the factory. This PV, these frets have about 30 years of play on them. And also the pickups, yes, they're both humbuckers, but they are different style. What's in the Les Paul are Alnico. These are ceramic. And I found I liked the neck position in the Strat, which is a Seymour Duncan Little 59. I liked that more than the Les Paul neck position. So if I wanted to record something that's a humbucker neck position, I would probably reach for this over the Les Paul. But as far as the bridge, the Strat had a little more high end to it. The Les Paul, I think, had a little more low mids, a little more like grunt, I think is the best way to put it. And maybe a little more complexity with the overtones, I think. But like I said, very subtle differences. And I think the bridge humbucker on the Strat has a little more higher output than what this has. So why would you go for one over the other? I don't know, if you watch my channel at all, you'll see I play this a lot more than I play this. To me, hot rodding and having hot rodded Strat is just more fun. Once you break into a guitar and really like start messing with it, it becomes less sacred to you. Like, I'm terrified of relicking this guitar, for lack of a better term. This one has seen some life. That's one seen some bars. I don't know, it's just more fun to play hot rodded Strat, I think. Les Paul is easier to play, but the Strat also gives you the option, because most Strats have 3 pickups in it. Some Les Pauls have 3 pickups, but pretty much every Strat has 3 pickups in it unless you modify it to not have 3 pickups. The 2 and 4 position on the Strat are great classic sounding tones that have been used on countless hit records. I love the middle single coil too. Yeah. But does it sound as good as a Les Paul? I'll let you be the judge. You heard the sound samples. I'm not here to tell you what's better or not. I think in a mix, you could probably do slight tweaks to the amp and get one to sound exactly like the other. You know, one has hotter output, one has a little less treble. You could compensate for that if you really want that in your tone. So pretty much bottom line, if you like to tinker with stuff, hot rodding a Strat is about as fun as it gets, and I probably have a total of about $300 into this guitar, and I love it. Y'all know what a Les Paul Standard costs, which it's a great playing guitar, and it's a guitar that will hold its value over long term if you want something you can sell later. Whereas the simple rule, if you're modifying a guitar, you're never going to get the money back out of it if you try to sell it. My word of advice, if you're ever going to hot rod a guitar that you might sell later, hold on to the stock parts, because you're best off putting those stock parts back in than selling the upgraded parts separately. So, anyways, I hope this made sense. I hope I haven't rambled too incoherently at the end here. So, anyways, subscribe, thumbs up, you know what to do. See ya.